I told the group Friday night, I met with a few of Pastor Dan's leaders and the team here, and that I am, my name's Chris Sonsen. I'm founding pastor of South Hills Church and of Church Boom. We have 12 sites at our church, and we have Church Boom, and we have an initiative called Church Rescue we're going to talk about in just a moment today. But also, more importantly than all that, I have been married for June. I've been married for 32 years. She is a beautiful Mexican woman. She is Hispanic. How many Hispanics do we have here? I don't want to point out that I have been to the family reunions, and you're a lot louder than that. Let's try that again. How many Hispanics do we have here? Yeah, there you go. All right. And we've been married for 32 years, and we have 2 amazing children. And then we have this third one. No, I'm shutting. I'm totally playing. And we have wonderful 2 children. We have 2 granddaughters now, which is awesome, 2.5-year-old and a 7-month-old. And how many grandparents do we have here? Isn't it the best thing on the planet? It's so much better than parenting. It is God's gift to you for you not killing your own kid. That's really what it is. Just a reward back to you is what it is. I'm holding my granddaughter recently, and my adult son says to me, "Dad, it's like you love her more." I go, "No, it's not like I do. I do." I want to be very clear. You had a good run. It's over for you. Amen. So a while back, I'm late for an appointment in Southern California to go speak in L.A. up in the mountains of Southern California, but I was driving through L.A. to Orange County and then up through the mountains. Anyway, I'm late. And I hate being late, love being on time, hate being late. So I'm driving down the freeway, and I'm like, man, I am going to be late for sure. So I'm just flying down the freeway, doing a nice Christian 95. And I'm flying down the freeway and thinking, I am going to be late. How many have ever been speeding, or you fly through a yellow light and you say a quick prayer in your head? Isn't that funny? Lord, as I break the law, may you be with me. And I fly right through, I'm driving along, and then all of a sudden, I'm going down the freeway, and I look up in my mirror, and there's the red and blue lights. And they start flashing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, now I'm going to be even more late. It's going to cost me money for a ticket. So I'm thinking, man, what do I do? So I punched it. No, I'm sorry. I probably saw it on the news, a helicopter chase with a pastor. And so then I pull over, and I'm like, I'm going to be more late. It's going to cost me money. I pull over. He gets out of the car, and he's walking towards me. And I look in the mirror, and I'm like, this is unbelievable. And I look down, and I see my Bible sitting there right next to me. And I got to be honest with you. And by the way, don't you love it when pastors do that? I love it when a pastor says, can I be honest with you? Because I'm always thinking, what have you been doing up to this point? But so I look over, and I see my Bible sitting there. I know this sounds bad, Pastor Dan, but I pick up the Bible, and I put it on my dashboard. Because I'm thinking, maybe he's one of us. And he'll let me off the hook. And I'm thinking, how bad? That's horrible. I put it up there, and then, of course, I had to make it look like social media, so I put a cup of tea and a candle, because that's how you have a devotion. And you've seen that before. You got to put that all together. And so he comes up, and he's like, hey, he goes, license and registration, please. And so I give him the license and registration. He's talking to me, whatever. The whole time he's looking at me, his eyes are shifting over, and he's looking at my Bible. And I'm thinking, I got him. This is it. Reeling in a marlin. And he's looking at the Bible. Then he's like, I'll be back in a second. And I'm thinking, is he going to give me a ticket? So he goes back. I look back up in my mirror. He's writing out a ticket. And I'm like, I can't believe it. I thought, he's one of us. And then he comes back up. He goes, here's your license, registration, sign here, do that. He keeps looking at my Bible. And then he goes, okay, drive. And then he gives me the ticket and everything, which I couldn't believe. And then he says, okay, drive safely, blah, blah, blah. And he's starting to walk away. And he leans his head back in the window, points at my Bible, and says, read Romans 13:1. Now, I know a lot of the Bible. I don't have every verse memorized. He takes off. I open it up. Obey the laws of the land. That's what it said. Romans 13:1. And I'm like, you no good for nothing. And you know what he was really telling me? He was really telling me this. He was really saying, hey, buddy, you might want to follow the entire Bible. And really, because I think that we all struggle with that at times. Like, we like part of the Bible, but not the other part. I like the part that says God wants to pour out a bucket of blessing on my life, but then the part before that says you got to bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. Hey, I love when God forgives me for the dumb things I do. Anybody like that idea? How many love it when God wants you to forgive someone that hurt you? That's not so fun, is it? It's because we like part of it. But you know what else we do with the Bible? Is we look at certain parts of the Bible and somehow we think that promise is for someone else, not for us. It's very interesting how we can kind of believe God for something amazing in your life and in our life, but then we can't believe it for ourselves. There's a story in the Bible. It's one of the most popular stories in the Bible. Even if you're new to this whole Christian thing, it's a very popular story. It's David and Goliath. And we know the story. It's not a spoiler alert. David defeats Goliath. We know the whole story. But in that story, we find something really, really interesting. So let me give you a little background to the story, okay? The Philistines, they're the bad guys. Say bad guys. They're the bad guys. They're fighting against the army of Israel. They're the good guys. All right, so they're fighting. Now, over here, the Philistines, they've got this dude named Goliath. He is 9 feet, 6 inches tall. He's got this spear-like weapon that's got a 15-inch or 15-pound kind of an iron head on it. You know, it clubs people, and he's just a monster of a man. And he would constantly tell the people of Israel, the army of Israel, you can't do anything. He would taunt them. He'd come out from his tent, make fun of them, make fun of their God, our God, and all this stuff. So there was this intense moment that was happening. Now, let's back out of that story. So you got Goliath and the Philistines, and you got the army of Israel, and they're scared to death of Goliath. Now, there's this shepherd named David. Now, David, historians say he was somewhere between 17 and 19. We knew he was under 20 because he did not sign up for the census in that year. So if he didn't sign up for the census, he had to be younger than that. Let's just call him 17. We know it was 17 and 19. Let's go with 17 years old. His brothers go off to fight in the army of Israel. And in those days, you wanted to fight. You didn't try to escape it. And David thought he was a warrior, but his dad was like, no, you're not strong enough. You're not big enough. His brothers made fun of him. His dad told him he was too weak to go out and fight, so he just tended to sheep. Imagine what that would feel like. Your brothers are out there fighting for God and fighting for the country, but everybody thinks you're too weak, and you're just going to tend to the sheep. Then his dad comes to him one day and says, David, I want you to take this basket of food and take it to your brothers on the battlefield. They must be hungry. And so he gives him a basket with bread and cheese in it. Now, he goes from, I think I'm a warrior, to now he's Little Red Riding Hood, and he's taking this basket. Think about how demeaning that is. Here's a little basket, buddy, and whatever, and take it over to your brothers, you little weakling. And so he takes the basket down to his brothers, and everybody's afraid of Goliath. And this is where we pick up the story in 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 24. As soon as the Israelite army, those are the good guys, saw him, they began to run away in fright. They were talking about Goliath. Have you seen the giant, the men asked? He comes out each day to defy Israel. And then it says, the king has offered a huge reward to anyone who kills him. David asks the soldiers standing nearby, what will a man get for killing this Philistine and ending the defiance of Israel? Who is this? I love this. This is 17-year-old David. Who is this pagan Philistine anyway, that he is allowed to defy the armies of the living God? So here's what the guys are saying. The brothers and all the army are like, this guy is big. This guy's a giant. He's killing us. And David's like, yeah, okay, I get all that, but he's defying God. And I'm not going to let that happen. So here's what I want you to write down. Here's big idea, big lesson number one, is that what others chose to accept, David chose to reject. What others chose to, help me out, what others chose to accept, David chose to. Okay, he's saying, this is it. He's saying, look, you guys are accepting, because if they lose, by the way, they have to become slaves to Goliath. You guys are accepting that slavery. You're accepting this is the best your life's going to get. You're accepting this is the best things you'll ever get in your life. You'll never get any better than this. You're accepting less than God's best. And David comes along and says, how dare you think that this is the best it's going to get? And how dare you think that this is the best it's going to get in your life? And David comes along and fights against that idea. Now, here's the thing. How often do we do that? Where we accept this is the best our marriage is going to get. This is the happiest I'll ever be. This is the most money I'll ever make. This is the best my children will. And we kind of accept so much less than God's best. Why do we do that? It's like we're born with a shout, but we end up with a whisper. Why do we do that? What is that about that in us that takes out that fight as we get older? Somehow, everybody's born with dreams. Come on, man, look at a little kid. He colors outside of the lines. He makes the sky green and the trees blue because he thinks differently than everybody else. And then we put him into a box, and we do the same thing with our own life. And you know what ends up happening? Our dreams turn into routines. And we all get guilty of that. And that's what David's looking at and going, how can you guys accept so much less in your life? I do a lot of flying. I'm a founding pastor of South Hills, but a founder of Church Boom. I do about 150 to 180 flights per year. So I did 161 last year. So I do a lot of flying. So I want you to think, I do a lot of flying. I've been flying for many years like that. And about 5 or 6 years ago, I'll never forget, I'm at the airport. We get stuck at the airport, Dallas Airport, you know, and we're stuck. And by the way, I do a lot of flying, and I still hate flying. I hate it. I'm on a plane. I'll be on a plane today. I was on a plane yesterday, the day before. I'm on a plane all the time, and I hate it. Because who came up with the idea that before you walk on the runway and get onto the plane, someone came up with the idea of the term terminal? Think about that for a moment. You're getting on a plane, and the last words you hear is, get in the terminal. It doesn't sound happy. It's basically a sign that says you're going to die. And so anyway, I'm stuck in the airport for a couple hours. Some guy comes, this 5-6 years ago. Some guy comes up to me and says, hey, man, hey, buddy. And I turn around, I'm like, dude, I haven't seen you in forever. I haven't seen this guy in for years. His plane got delayed. My plane got delayed. He's like, hey, man, let's go hang out in the Admiral Lounge. Time out. If you don't know what the Admiral Lounge is, it's for those people that fly a lot. It's this, you know how the terminal can get crowded and chaotic in a terminal. The doors open up and you go in and there's private restaurants. They have a masseuse. They've got showers. I mean, it is like heaven in there. It really is. And it's like all noisy over here. And, you know, it's like the bottom of the Titanic. And then you go over here with Rose, you know, and it's just like beautiful in this Admiral Lounge, you know. And so I looked at my friend. I go, we can't go in the, keep in mind, I've been flying for years all the time. And I go, we can't go in the Admiral Lounge. I go, that's for pilots. Because doesn't the word admiral sound piloty? And so I'm like, we can't go in there, dude. And he's all, no, what are you talking about? He looks at me, starts laughing. He goes, come on, man, what are you, nuts? So we walk in there. He gives his name. They scan his little membership or whatever. Then they take my name. They say, what's your name? And I said, Chris Sonsen. So they take my name. This is what happens. The lady punches it up. She looks at me and she goes, oh, Mr. Sonsen, you've been a member for 7 years. I've been a member for 7 years. You think about that for a moment. Now, here's really what she was saying. Hey, Mr. Sonsen, you're over here hanging out in this kind of accepting the way that it is, but there are some doors that you could have walked through for the last 7 years, and it would have been a lot better if you would have walked through those doors. That's what God's saying to each of you, Christian or not. He's saying, if you'll walk through the doors that I have for you, if you'll come watch what I'll do in your life. Don't accept less than the best. That's what David was saying. Now, let's go back to the story. David's mouthing off. What? Who do you guys think this is? This is crazy. He's defying God. And man, come on, this is not right. The king, Saul, overhears it, calls David to his tent, and said, basically has a conversation. David having a conversation with the king, Saul. Let's look at it now. Let's pick up the story. Don't worry about this Philistine, David told Saul. I love this. I'll go fight him. Can you imagine because Saul is the tallest guy in the army, by the way. He's a monster of a man. And the 17-year-old kid says, you guys don't need to worry. I'll take care of it. The arrogance, I love it. And by the way, don't be ridiculous, Saul replied. There's no way you can fight this Philistine and possibly win. You're only a boy, and he's been a man of war since youth. But David persisted. I have been taking care of my father's sheep and goats, he said. When a lion or a bear comes to steal a lamb from the flock, I, David says, go after them with a club and rescue the lamb from its mouth. If the animal turns on me, I catch it by its jaw and I club it to death. I have done this to both the lion and the bear, and I'll do this to the pagan Philistine too, for he has defied the army of the living God. The Lord who rescued me, the Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and bear will rescue me from the Philistine. Now here's the second thing I want you to write down that David realized, and that's this. Put it on the screen for me. Is that David realized and knew that the battle belonged to the Lord, but the fight belonged to him. You see the difference? What did he say? He said, I killed the bear. I killed the lion. I'm the one that did that. Oh, and then, but in the same conversation, he goes, oh, yeah, but the Lord rescued me. Well, which one is it? It's both. The battle belongs to the Lord, but the fight belongs to him. The battle for whatever we face belongs to the Lord. God's in charge. He's a big God. There's nothing bigger than him. He can handle anything you're going through, but the fight belongs to you. So David is basically saying, how dare you guys accept less? Remember, he rejected their idea. Then he comes along and says, now the battle belongs to the Lord, but the fight belongs to us. So here's what really David is saying. Let's bring it down into our life. Oh, yeah, God does want to help you in your marriage, but please understand, the fight belongs to you. You're the one that's got to get the counseling. You're the one that's got to go get the therapy. You're the ones that got to get the help. Hey, the battle belongs to the Lord when it comes to your finances, but you're the ones that need some help in that area. You're the ones that need to figure out how to get out of debt, how to start managing them. God, that we know the battle belongs to him whatever we're facing in our life, but the fight belongs to us. You got to go get the help. You got to go get whatever it is that you need. We all have to do that because the battle belongs to him, but the fight belongs to us. I did my first ever and guaranteed last ever triathlon in my life. It was a sprint triathlon, like a mile swimming, 25 miles biking, and 5 miles running or something. And I did it Oceanside, California. I live in San Clemente Beach. It's right next door. I go out there, and the first thing you do is you swim like a mile or whatever it is. You got to go out a half mile and come in a half mile. I've lived at the beach all my life, and I can tell you this much. The waves were gigantic. Way bigger than normal. And they were setting out really, really far, which is dangerous because when they're out far and they kind of collapse you, you can't hit the sand and come back up. And it was stormy, it was crazy, and I was like, this is a nightmare. So I'm standing there about a minute before they blow the horn for our little pack to go out, like 50 of us, in our little age group. And I look at the guy next to me, and he's like, hey, man, how you doing? I go, good. I go, man, you do this all the time? He goes, or he asked me, he goes, you do this ever before? And I go, no, I've never done a thing like this before. And I go, how about you? He goes, oh, yeah. He goes, I do these all the time. He goes, this is my third one this year. And then he goes, but I've never seen waves like that. I'm like, well, that sounds encouraging, Sounds like death. I go out a half mile. I start swimming back in, and they are pulling people out like crazy because they're rescuing all these people. And I'm looking around, and I'm seeing these waves come, really how deep the water is, how out of breath I am. And I started, honest to God, man, I started to pray like, God, help me, Lord. But never once did I paddle and go, help me, Lord. Okay, I'm just going to stop, and you're just going to pick me up and move me over here. Isn't that neat? Thank you, God. I'm so lazy I'm doing nothing. I know that the battle belongs to the Lord, but I also know that the fight belongs to me. And it belongs to you. I don't know what dreams you have in your life, but I know this much. Don't let them turn into routines. Don't let that happen in your life. Let God do what he wants to do in your life. Expect more. Want more. Be more. Men, you are, all the men in the house, you are a son of the living God. A son of the living God. You are a son of the Alpha and the Omega. And women, you are a daughter of the Prince of Peace. Now let's act like it. Let's walk there and act like it. Like, no. You don't get to treat me this way. I'm a daughter of the Prince. Do you know whose daughter I am? What are you, nuts, treating me this way? Men, no, I'm not going to accept this is the best my life is going to get. Do you know who I belong to? It changes everything. The battle belongs to the Lord, but the fight belongs to us. Let me give you a couple truths that won't come up on the screen, so you're going to need to write these down. Goliath, now this is important. Goliath wasn't David's greatest battle. Goliath was David's greatest blessing. Why? Because once he defeated Goliath, and we know he did, once he defeated Goliath, you know what he got? He got wealth beyond belief. in the hundreds of millions in modern day from the king. He also got the king's daughter. He also got a marriage. He also got reward. His dad didn't have to pay taxes for the rest of his life. See, here's the thing. Here's this Goliath. And I got to say, man, I got to fight this thing. I got to make this thing's got to get out of my way. And David understood something. David understood this thing right here. That the battle, the Goliath, was not his worst battle. It was his best blessing in his life. Because once he slayed that giant, there was a reward. Please understand something. You might want to write this down is there is always a reward that stands behind your giant. Overcome that problem. Overcome that issue. Deal with that thing, and watch what God does. The fight belongs to you. The battle belongs to the Lord, but the fight belongs to you. There is always a reward behind every giant. Here's the second thing. We teach all the time. This is what we teach all the time. We teach David killed Goliath. God sent David to kill Goliath. We learn that in Sunday school. If you ever went to Sunday school, the kids might be learning that today. God sent David to kill Goliath. Think about this for a moment. Did God send David to kill Goliath, or did God send Goliath to reveal David? Is that possible? Because guess what happened in that battle? He revealed he is the up-and-coming king. It revealed it to the king, Saul. It revealed his character. It revealed his strength. It revealed his tenacity. It revealed his fight. It revealed his courage. Yeah, we know that David killed Goliath, but maybe God sent Goliath to reveal David. And you know what? Whatever you're facing right now, whatever you're going through, whatever battle you need to fight, whatever thing you're saying, man, I seem to be accepting less than best in my life, God's going, there's a reward behind that Goliath. Deal with it, because once you deal with it and you kill it, it will reveal you. It always reveals you. And you let that happen. You let it reveal you. See, here's something that I think is for sure, is that people get upset with their life, or, man, this ain't growing, this ain't growing. Don't get upset with the results you didn't get from the effort you didn't give. You see, when I was out there in that ocean, I just kept on swimming, because I was like, it's on me. But we get frustrated with the results we didn't get from the effort we didn't even give. Don't do that. Decide, man, the Lord, it's his battle. Battle belongs to the Lord. Well, I can tell you this much, the fight belongs to me. You and I have got to fight. It is going to reveal who we really are. Let's go back to the story, okay? Let's go back to the story. So David says, I can take care of this, whatever. And Saul goes, all right, go ahead and do it, And matter of fact, let me give you some armor. David takes the armor, throws it off, and goes, I can't wear this stuff. And he grabs his slingshot. It's basically not a slingshot. It's more like a sling, but whatever. One time to explain it. Let's call it a slingshot. And he goes over to the stream, picks up 5 rocks, and puts them inside his bag. And this is where we pick up the story. David's now got his slingshot. He's going to face Goliath, and he's got 5 stones inside of his bag. Okay, and that's the story that everybody talks about, David in the slingshot with the stone in his bag. And here's where we pick up the story. We pick it up at verse 45. David replied to the Philistine. Now he goes out, and he meets Goliath. You come with me with a sword and the spear and javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of the heavens of armies, the God of the army of Israel, whom you've defied. Today the Lord will conquer you, and I will tell you, and I will kill you and cut off your head. And then I will give you the dead bodies of your men to the birds and wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel, and everyone assembled here will know that the Lord rescues his people, but not with the sword and spear. This is the Lord's battle. Look at him. But I'm still going to fight, though. But it's the Lord's battle, and he will give you to us. As Goliath moved closer to attack, David quickly ran out to meet him, reaching into his shepherd bag. There's that bag again. Took out a stone. There was 5 of them in there. He took out one of them. He hurled it with a sling and hit the Philistine in the forehead. The stone sank in, and Goliath stumbled and fell face down on the ground. Now, there's the story, okay? Here's the thing I want you to write down. When others stood on the sideline, David stood on the front line. When others stood on the sideline, David went to the front line. Everybody was afraid. David went to the battle. David said, the Lord's battle belongs to him, but the fight belongs to me. And I'm going to come on out here, and I'm going to do it. And I am not going to settle for less like my brothers are doing and like the rest of these army soldiers are doing and warriors are doing. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to go out to that front line, and I'm going to deal with this situation. And he dealt with it. And he went out there, and he fought. And we know the story. He fought, but he went out there, and he did it. And I remember, just real quick, I remember when years ago I was invited to go speak at a prison. And it was like a high maximum. They had to do all this background check on me to speak at this prison. I'll never forget. It was a stale room with a cement floor and metal chairs in this prison, and there was like 100 of them. And I'm standing on the stage, and I'm kind of getting used. He said, "You can stand right here, and you can use this to put notes on." I'm like, "Okay." And then the guard says, he goes, "They're going to come in just a minute. There'll be 100 of them." I said, "Okay." This is the guard. He takes me over here about 6 feet away. He goes, "You see this door right here?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "If a riot breaks out, go inside there and lock yourself." Now, first of all, I'm thinking, how often does this happen that you have to tell me this? Then, this is the best part, Pastor Dan. He goes, go in there and lock. And he goes, "And don't try to be a hero and come out." And I'm thinking, don't worry, I won't. There will be zero heroship in me if this thing breaks out in a riot. Afterwards, I did get an opportunity to talk to one of the inmates. Kept track of that guy through a friend. He got out of prison, went back to school, got his master's, all the way through his master's degree, became a pastor at a church, owns a home, has a wife and 3 kids. And the thing, he didn't just come out and go, "This is my life." He came out and said, "The battle belongs to the Lord, but the fight belongs to me, and I'm getting on the front line. I'm going to change my life right now." And he changed it. Now, let me start moving towards the concept of how you and I are going to rescue churches today. And I'm going to tell you straight up, I need your help unapologetically. I need everybody to help today. I really do. There's a big team of us. I'll explain it in a minute. But let me give you one more quick thought. Here's the thing. You might want to write this down. It won't come up on the screen. We often focus on the bag and we overlook the basket. Think about this for a moment. The bag had the 5 stones, and we focus on that. That's the big story. The basket simply just had the bread and cheese in there that he was supposed to deliver to his brothers. But think about it. He was up in the mountain being a shepherd, right? David was. David didn't come down the mountain to fight. David came down the mountain to serve. It was the basket that brought him to the king. It was the basket that brought him to Goliath. It was the basket that brought him to the battlefield, and it was the basket that got his reward, his wife, his wealth, and all the other benefits that came. It didn't start with the fight. It started with the serve. It didn't start with the bag. It started with the basket. It's that heart that says, "God, I'm going to serve. I'm going to serve you. I'm going to do everything I can to get my life the way it needs to be. I'm going to fight. It belongs to you. But, God, I'm going to serve you. And I'm going to serve others, and I'm going all in, God." And that's what makes the difference. And think about it for a moment. David could have easily, remember, he was already anointed to be king. Solomon already showed up to his dad and said, "Your son's going to be the next king." So his dad comes, who's already kind of made him feel like less than, and his brothers tell him he's really weak. His dad comes up and he's like, "Hey, man, give this bread and cheese to your brother in this basket." He could have looked at him and said, "I'm not delivering this. You made fun of me. My brothers have made fun of me. I'm the one that's going to be king. You'll bow to me someday. I'm not going to do that." But he didn't even let people that mistreated him get in the way. You see, here's what I think, though. Now, this is important. I think a sign of a mature believer isn't someone who loves Jesus. It's someone who loves Judas. That's when it shows up. And that's what it showed up for David. He served. He gave his all. He did everything that he could. And he fought hard. And folks, I want to turn the corner now. Okay, so summing this part up right here. Whatever you got to go after it. The fight belongs to you. The battle belongs to the Lord. Don't accept less. Go after what you got to go after. And don't stand on the sideline. Get on the front line. Watch what God does in your life. In all of you, I believe it. I believe in here in this room. There's books that have not been written, songs that have not been composed, businesses that have not been started, all because we live under the shadow of doubt and fear. Am I right? Oh, I'm afraid I can't write that book. I'm afraid I can't do that. I'm afraid. There's the fear that comes, the doubt that comes. There's the excuse that comes. There's the laziness that comes. There is, ready for this one that gets in the way? There's other people's opinions. You know what I've always noticed? People that are above me are always trying to pull me up. People that are below me are always trying to pull me down. See, here's what I've learned, man. People will always tear down your dream to a level that's comfortable for themselves because your desire for excellence threatens their mediocrity. That's why. So I want to close on that part. I want to bring that to a close and say, you're meant for more. You're meant for more. Go after it. Now let me turn the corner. There is a battle that's happening that you may not know about. It's happening right now in America, and it's big. It's the battle for the local church. We got trouble. This is a great church because you have a great leader. That was a really good time to cheer, but whatever. I'll do that again. This is a great church because you got a great leader. But that's not the case for a lot of churches. Let me give you, if you just Google churches dying in America, and here's what you're going to see. Put it on the screen for me. It's the black background, the headlines. Look at this, folks. The American church is dying, Milwaukee Independent. Church-going believers at a historic low. Church-going believers at a historic low. Fox News, America's church is closing faster than new ones can open. Churches closing their doors in record numbers. Church membership has fallen below the majority for the first time in nearly a century. Folks, it's a pandemic that you probably don't know about. We feared COVID. I fear this. Bigger than anything I've ever feared before. This is a battle that's going on. If you look up those articles, go ahead and look them up anytime you want. You'll find this. America right now, actually for 9 straight years, America closes more churches than it opens. America loses between 100 to 200 churches per Sunday. Somewhere between 100 to 200 churches right now today are having their final service ever. We're losing. We're losing the battle. We've got discouraged pastors. 84% of churches are in decline. You guys, listen to me. I don't want to numb you with a bunch of stats, but I'm just going to tell you this. There's a battle going on. And about 2 years ago, some of my friends, we got together in Dallas, Texas. Pastors, a lot of them from big churches and whatever. We got together and we're like, hey, man, we got to do something about this. We started looking at the stats. Now, we can just go out, leave, and go have lunch and go about our way. But the bride of Jesus Christ, the bride of the Son of the living God, which is the church, is in the emergency room and it's bleeding. We are losing more churches than we open. America has less than half the people even claim a faith anymore. And let me tell you something. Wouldn't you agree with me? We think, hey, why is America getting so dark? It ever occur to us that the more lighthouses they'll go out, the darker America gets? The more lighthouses go out, the darker America gets? Could that be the reason? So I looked at those pastors and I'm like, man, we got to do something, man. We got to do something. We can't just go on social media and, blast that. That's not going to change anything. We got to do something. So we got together and created this thing called Church Rescue. And what we did is we did this. We said, we're going to give pastors of churches that are dying under 100. Pastor Dan and I met with someone last night. Got hundreds of churches in his network. I'm like, we'll help all of them. We want to help churches that are dying to get excited and thrive again. You know how we're going to do that? We're going to give away, for the last 2 years, we've been giving away free coaching. We've been giving away free resources. And we've been giving away free emergency funding. Churches that are 40 and 50 and they start coming back up to 100, but they're 15,000 behind in their mortgage. We come in and go, we'll take care of that. When do we pay you back? You don't need to pay us back. Don't worry. And we said, where are we going to get that money? Well, we'll just go to healthy churches like yours, and we'll say, let's all pitch in, and then we'll help the unhealthy because we're going to lean down and we're going to pull people up because I don't want to stand before Jesus Christ. I don't want to stand before Jesus Christ and him go, the church was dying in America, and you did what? Nothing? We got to do something. And so we started. And, man, God's been doing awesome things. Let me show you real quick. Here we go. Here's my friend Alex. Put it on the screen for me if we could. There we are. There's my buddy Alex in San Antonio. We met him running 50, 60 people. And he comes in, starts getting the coaching he needs and the help he needs. He's at about 170 now. And now they're running 2 services, and they're reaching people in Texas for Jesus. That's a rescued church. Here's another one, too. Here's another one of my buddies right here. Here's Joel. Joel's in New Mexico. He calls us up, man, I got 60 people in my church. It's dying. We're 3 months behind in our rent. We don't know what we're going to do. Last week, they had 325 people in their church. It's a rescued church. Here's another one right here. Here's my buddy Charles in Arizona. He literally 4 months ago, man, we're stuck. We don't know what to do. We're plateaued. We're behind. All these problems that he shares with us. In just 4 or 5 months, he went from about below 100 to last week they had 155 people, and they're coming back strong and reaching the people in Arizona. Hold on the picture. There was a guy hold that one there. There was a guy in Evansville, Indiana that called us. I'll never forget. I took the call. I normally don't, but I took the call. And he's like, we got 40 people in our church. I'm 2 months behind in rent. And he's got a beard that like goes down to here. He looks like Duck Dynasty. And he is bawling, Pastor Dan, on the phone. Bawling. He's like, I literally had to wait 30 seconds for him to catch his breath. He's like, I feel like a loser. I feel like a failure. I said, this is 2 years ago. I go, get in our rescue program. One of our first guys, get in our rescue program. We want to help you. I personally stepped in. Some other guys were helping him. He went into our rescue program, got all the coaching and training for a year and a half, 2 years. Hey, let's just take a look at what this church looks like on Sunday morning, last Easter, just 2 weeks ago. Come on, people. Now he's all confident. He thinks he's T.D. Jakes. And God's doing awesome things, you guys. But here's the thing. We're going to watch a video in a moment. In a moment, we're going to watch a video. I want to show you a rescued church in Detroit, Michigan, from Pastor Muda, African-American, reaching a ton of inner-city people. But in a moment, your pastor's going to come up, and I'm going to unapologetically, because to me, this is like a home church. I wouldn't talk like this at a normal church. I would let the pastor do it. But inside this card, there's a QR code, and or you can just, if you're all antiquated, you can write down your credit card, and we're asking for debit credit. We're asking for $10 a month. Maybe you want to give $20 a month. Maybe you want to give $30 a month. Whatever God puts on your heart. This is all that I ask. I ask that you would do something today. Something. You can do it through the QR code. You can fill that out. Do it before you leave. If you walk by and go, I'll fill it out when I get home, you won't. I'm doing this long enough. I'm just asking for your help, unapologetically. Is it about guilt? People, this is about money? Yeah, it is. Because it takes money to rescue people. Come on. This is the work of the kingdom. And this isn't about guilt. I hate guilt. It's about responsibility. I'm going to be responsible for God's church. Let's rescue some churches. You know what? There's that picture right there. I've never met any of those people. But I promise you in heaven they're going to come up and thank us. You helped rescue our church. You helped rescue a church that I didn't even go to, and thank you. You're going to have an opportunity to do that. But let me go back to that slide. Go one more slide. It's the same one, but put it back up there for me. The next one. The black one with the headlines. Is it frozen? There we are. All right. Let me tell you something. And I'm going to go to the video, and then Pastor Dan will come up. And by the way, I'll be standing right out there in the parking lot area. I'd love for you to, whether you do the QR code or whether you fill it out, please just put it inside the envelope, come by, pick up this bracelet that says, I came to the rescue. And join us in coming to the rescue. Now, let me wrap it up with this before we go to the video. Here it is. Okay, remember the David and Goliath. He was taunting God. The enemy, Goliath, was taunting God, and he was taunting and mocking the people of God, and he was making fun because they were dying. I think there's an enemy right now that's real and alive today, and I think that he's looking at these stats, and he's making fun of us. I think he is. Look what I'm doing, man. Look what I'm doing in your churches. And he's mocking us like Goliath. And he's looking at us, and he's mocking us, and he's making fun. And I think that he's doing that. And you know what I think we need to do? I think this is what I think we do. I say, let's grab arms and lock arms. Let's walk down to the battlefield. Let's face these statistics and the enemy, and let's go pick a fight.